Hey, what's going on, guys? Jake from TheMonValleyFisherman here, and this is the Mon Valley Fisherman podcast. And this is just going to be a review from yesterday. Figure I'd give you guys a little bit of a podcast about exactly what I did yesterday. And if you haven't seen the video that I posted yesterday, make sure to head on over to my main channel. Link will be down in the description below and check out that video. It's a great video, and it's small and short. I've been doing small and short videos for trout lately because um, in these native brookie streams and all these other streams, I don't want to put too much pressure into these places, and I feel like people are starting to catch on where I'm fishing. So, but and it's nothing personal. It's just I don't want to put that much pressure on a stream and have people trample all over it. And this time of the year isn't. I mean, I'm pretty sure the spawn's over with now, um, for these brookies and whatnot. But I just feel like some of those fish should be left alone, and I'd like to have something that I can come back to and not have to worry about if I'm gonna catch a fish or not, and show you guys and give you guys content. But anyways, hope everything's been good. With the new year rolling around, I guess I'm gonna be doing like a year in review 2020 video at some point. I just haven't gotten to it. Um, but yeah, yesterday was pretty interesting. I got into some brookies, and it was all by luck, I guess you can say. Fishing this, I was going to. You guys know the day before. Okay, let's just start there. The day before, on Friday, it rained and rained and rained and rained. And oh, guess what? It rained. And it wasn't like a hard rain, but it was enough, steady enough rain to where it just, with the recent snow in the past couple weeks and that going on, and just the runoff of that, everything's wet. It was warm. It made everything soggy. So it was just it sucked, and it was just terrible timing. Um, so uh, I went up and found the stream that I've been to before with Marty, and we fished it before. We've caught fish out of it. We've seen fish out of it. But I figure with a little bit higher elevation, maybe the rain didn't impact it as much as some of these bigger streams with more feeders in it. And well, it wasn't bad. Okay, it wasn't to the point where you couldn't fish it. But I would not fish it unless I wouldn't nymph it. I wouldn't do anything like that. I would streamer fish it if I'm gonna do anything, honestly. And I wasn't really prepared for that. I did have my 5 weight in my car, and I did have a 7 weight in the car, but I don't have the reel for the 7 weight yet. I still gotta get that. Um, but it was like a tan color. It's like a light tea, like a Lipton tea. Um, it was weird. It wasn't clear, but it wasn't muddy. It was just that perfect stain where you pretty much had to work an area to make sure that there isn't a fish there. And this water was a bit swift, and I wasn't prepared for that either. Um, and nor did I have confidence in myself after I seen the water, and I just wasn't sure. And so I go in and I start fishing it. Okay, and this time of the year it could be so different as to how you fished it in different times of the year, or when you've been there in the past when the water's lower, and you're a bit overwhelmed, especially when I'm still learning this, man. It's still a learning curve for me to get into fishing for trout so regularly, but how to fish more swift water. If you guys have any like tips or anything as to fishing more swift water effectively other than Euro rigging, because I know I need to get into Euro, but I still want to figure out this lighter weight stuff and still learn nymphs and other stuff other than that. I still want to use a regular fly rod. I love the process of making a cast with it, or having to be. That's just how I like to fly fish. But the water was more swift, and I just wasn't having confidence. I was using more smaller flies, and I bet you if I would have had a little bit bigger and more flashier flies, not so much flashier, but just made a bigger presence in the water, I think I would have gotten around a couple more. But I just wasn't having confidence in the water that I was seeing. I mean, it was just, this place has like nice plunge pools in it, and it's not plunge pools to where you make a cast in there and your fly's already down current. It's a nice plunge pool, and then it has some back current, some back eddies, and your fly gets down effectively, and you still have a chance of showing something. So um yeah, so the last time I was there, I caught a few bows, some really nice bows. Um, I hooked into a nice brown. He was so dark and gold. I'm not sure if there's any wilds in there, but it wouldn't surprise me. There's some in the area. Like in you just never know with when the water goes up, where these fish travel, where they come from, where you just never know. He could be up there eating eggs, eating brookie eggs, and so it just all depends. But so I I was just fishing this place, and I remember when Marty and I was there last, this guy was fishing like this real shallow water. I mean, it's like almost a puddle, and he pulls out a brookie, pulls out a little native. And I'm literally looking at this guy the last time we were there, and I'm just completely dumbfounded. Okay, I didn't know what in the world I just watched, but he's fishing maybe not even two. I don't know. I want to say maybe 2 inches, 3 inches of water. I mean, that's insane. To think about the fly fish and get some of these flies down, or you know what size rod you have at the time. I had a 3 weight at the time, but it was just like at that moment, it's like when I was thinking about it when I was there, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go and try it. I started fishing these smaller feeders with like too heavy of flies. I know I was, and I was just getting frustrated. And when your ego just doesn't let you change. You just are so stubborn and hard headed that you don't change. That's what I was doing. And when you're fly fishing and I'm watching these videos and I'm learning, you have to do you have to be flexible. You have to be. Like you have to have certain backup plans to another backup plan to be prepared for the situation that you have come that you don't know is coming, but you have to be prepared for that situation. And when I first got to this place, I I noticed that there was a good bit of feeder streams, and they looked pretty darn good. And I was always wondered if there was something in there. I just never took the time. And so I started fishing. I started fishing like the feeders. Started walking up. I was walking the road, and I decided, I'm gonna just walk up the road and see what I see. See if I can find any more pools. Well, I come across this very nice couple, and they were renting a cabin nearby, and they were talking to me, and he was like, "Hey, man, we were walking this trail. We were walking the road. I mean, next to the trail, and you can see that there's little fish scooting out underneath the leaves." And I'm just like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." He says, "I bet you they're trout." And he says, and also he said that he's fished there in the past, and he knows they're brook trout essentially. But got to talking to him. We actually have like a few people that we know. Um, so that was pretty cool. But anyways, the one thing I want you guys to realize here too. When I was talking to his wife was very nice, and he pointed out one of the flies I had on. It was a little zebra midge. I just tied it on because I was figuring, why don't I throw lighter stuff? Maybe, I don't know. I just was trying out different things. His wife asked to see my smallest fly, and it was one of those zebra midges, but smaller. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should tie that one on underneath the Y2K and just go and try in these places that this guy's saying. I get to the first end of this like nice whole area, and I have to say I pulled out one of the more nicer brookies I've caught last year. I mean, this was a nice 5.5, 6 inch brookie that was nice and chunky, big head, small body. Can definitely tell that they just got done spawning, and they're hungry, and they were definitely eating. And it was quite an amazing sight to see that fish come down current completely out of nowhere. Have no idea where this fish came out of, and ate this Y2K and had it down in completely in the mouth. Like it was a size 14 Y2K down its mouth. He closed his mouth, you couldn't even tell he had a fly in there. Like he ate it pretty darn good. And all the big ones that I caught, I'll be honest too, I didn't put all my fish on camera. I lost a couple of fish at the bank that were probably 8.5 to 10 inches. Like I lost a couple. I had them in my hand, unhooked, and then I wanted to get a picture, but at the same time, if they're squirming around, I didn't want to take any of the slime coat off. Remember to wet your hands beforehand too. But I didn't want to squeeze them. I wanted to get them back and let them go. But I was catching, most of those bigger ones were coming off the Y2K, and the smaller ones that were coming out of the leaves were going for those zebra midges. It was honestly unbelievable. Unbelievable. But yeah, I was in every one of these holes that you could see them. You could see the smaller ones. Like if you had to, and you had to be stealthy. You had to get down on your knees. You had to walk up slow. Like if you're gonna approach an area and then get down, you had to, because if you didn't, those fish were seeing you. They're darting. They're gone, and you ain't getting that bite. If you ain't getting that fish, you don't have a chance in hell. Those brookies, when they see something they don't recognize, and this is not the time if you're chasing after brookies in this time of the year. It is not the time to wear your beautiful green uh, fluorescent hazmat, work shirt. It's not going to happen. I know a lot of you guys wouldn't wear that, but I got to tell you too. Like reds, I would just keep it. I would keep it just a simple, maybe gray, green, black, slow moving. Approach the hole like golfing. Approach the hole, eye it up, take a cast, slash swing, hole in one. That's one of my favorite things to do, to be honest with you, in brook trout fishing. That's why I love it so much, because sometimes you're in such tight quarters. And if you go and watch that video from yesterday, that's down in the description below, you will see I am on my butt and almost laying down on my back to make sure I do not scare these fish that are maybe 5 to 8 yards away from me. Like that's how you have to be, or these fish aren't going to bite. And out of the one hole, I caught at least 4 out of one hole, and I didn't even put that hole on camera. So it was more or less that I wasn't going for a video, but I wanted to make something for you guys, and I think a lot of you guys actually like it. And it's one of my better videos, I have to admit. I'm not trying to be big-headed or anything like that, but I did really enjoy making that video, and I enjoy making every video. Every video, guys, it has a purpose. It has a meaning behind it in some way, in some fashion. Either if it's the music or how I'm editing, you just may never know either. But there's a lot of meaning behind as to what I'm going through on a daily basis, or what I went through on that day as to what music I chose. So there's a lot of things that you guys will find out too. I have a lot of footage stored, like a lot. Like I've kept it away, and maybe someday we'll use it. But I feel like we're gonna keep seeing how this channel grows, because if it comes down to having to do it more consistently, then we're gonna bring back some of those older videos and start using them.